Welcome back to the moon, episode 12. In the end of the previous episode, we did a mining run. We put all the ore away in the lockers, and we entered the base, and we ended it there. So we've just come back in, switching our suit out here. Go ahead and track down my headlamp, put that on. All right, got a headlamp on. We're going to do our typical swap some waste tanks and go ahead and top off my O2 bottles. I did receive explicit feedback that I should probably specifically build a second jetpack tank and just swap them versus just waiting around. The same is true with the O2 tank. I need to create a second one. It's sort of like I'm aware of these things, but you sort of like forget them and you're focused on all of the other things going on. So I did take notes, and that won't happen until episode 14. I have both episode 12 and 13 captured. I'm just behind on my voiceover, so I'm working through that. All right, so what we're focused on now, or what I'm focused on right now, is to go ahead and set up the mechanism for cooling the gas that we bring in and filtered. What I actually do is that the first gas I filter off is CO2. So I'm going to cool that gas and then use radiators to exchange heat from one to the other. So for example, the initial setup, I have a nitrogen tank and a CO2 tank. I'll cool the CO2 tank and then indirectly cool the nitrogen tank using a small heat exchanger between the two. For doing that. The other aspect of the system is that it's sort of a upgrade for capacity. The external components are greatly enlarged. There's far more radiators sitting outside. The working gas is actually the CO2, which has been filtered out, and so because of that, it's at much higher pressure, and I have concern about getting all that gas out quickly when the system, when the digital valve shuts. And so I'm going to use a turbo pump set to maximum to pump all that gas out quickly. And and the system above, it uses a gas sensor for the room. For comparison, in this case, we'll just have a second pipe analyzer. So effectively one pipe analyzer for the pipe on the outside, another pipe analyzer, effectively the gas on the inside, which in this case is the CO2 gas. So I can make the comparisons and figure out if it needs to cool or not cool. And then in the next episode, which would be 13, I'll start injecting that CO2 out. So basically, instead of doing the manual CO2 injection, I will automate that, since I'll now have CO2 that's being collected, stored here, and lowered to a reasonable temperature. And so I'll do that by just tapping off the filtration unit. So the filtration unit has a socket. I only need effectively one port for the pump, and then as far as the gas sensor inside, so I know the ratio of CO2 to inject or not inject, I'll just use a load batch named with average for any gas sensor with a name of, I believe called is interior gas sensor. So that way I can have multiple gas sensors if I wanted to. I only have one initially set up. And here I am removing some of the piping, and I basically laid it all out in episode 11, and I kind of, I want to change things around a little bit. So there's our digital valve. I hear that from the turbo pump in here. Now, the turbo pump is interesting because it can go in either direction. And because of that, the initialization routine doesn't set the mode. And that's because if I set the mode to 1 and I had it inverted, it'll be, the gas will be flowing in the wrong direction. So in the script comment, I put a little note in there and say, Make sure to manually set the arrow correctly, going from the outside to the inside. And the code itself will not mess with the mode. You can obviously set the mode if you want to. If you have a position a certain way, that's fine. But in this case, I just didn't do it that way. Yeah, I believe the code itself is unchanged because, reading the temperature or the temperature of a pipe analyzer is the same method as reading the temperature from a gas sensor. And the pump is either turn the pump on, turn the pump off. It's all pretty much the same. I do update the settings to 100, so the volume pump is running at full bore, irrespectively of what direction it's flowing into. It's definitely nice to have one large base where it's all, has an atmosphere, so you're not running in and out all the time. So here I am just printing up bits and pieces that I don't need another pipe analyzer. Yeah, I'm starting to like this 5 width size base. Most of my bases has always been 3 frames wide, and making it 5 with a staircase in the center like that, it's working out. And then it does leave me option. I'm not fully utilizing it, but if I need to run like gas pipes up and down, this makes it a lot easier. So I think at some point when I put in a suit rack, I can run pipe for O2 and other things up through the floor there, just like I did for the power. Just pop off a frame. Be careful which frame I pop off, but pop off the right frame. I can just pop it off, run pipes through it, put the frame back. And that just makes the plumbing so much easier. And as I did before, I'm putting all this on its own transformer just to try to reduce the number of devices I have to scan through when connecting things. Not sure 100% I like this layout. I've been toying with moving that transformer over a little bit just to, pack it in there a little bit more. I mean, the base is pretty big, but I don't want to be wasting it. Okay, I think that's all ready to go. We got to put the stuff outside, of course. And we have to fix this pipe over here that we removed. Yeah, I'll make some more changes to this design in the next episode a little bit. Move some that wiring right there. It runs across. I removed that to make room for the injection system. So what I'm trying to do now is I need to connect the filtered CO2 to the lower set of pipes on the cooling system because I want, to cool that gas. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to run that piping that doesn't get in the way of other piping. And also there's a problem with that wiring. I can't run over there. So I'm running it up like this. And I don't really 100% like that, but I think the fundamental problem I had or have with this layout is since I typically build 3 wide buildings, then the power cables and stuff sort of run off, 1 frame out like I'm doing here. But with a 5 width frame building, then I think the main power line should run 2 off the wall, 2 frames off the wall, because since you have more room for stuff, that stuff is going to go out further. Like I have now, I have, a tank and a filtration unit that consumes 2 frames. And so I'm consuming these 2 frames, these extra width of the building area. but my cable layout is as if, you know, in the past how I built, you know, 3-width buildings. So I'm going to rip out some of that cabling and move it around, and that actually kind of works out a little better, I think, in the design and layout. All right, so we have, so it's kind of, so basically the tank on the right has mixed hot gas from the furnace currently. The tank on the left has filtered CO2, and the tank even further to the left will have filtered nitrogen. Everything else for now, we're just going to toss outside and not worry about it for now. It's just not that much gas to worry about, and I got other things to be concerned about. Now, this is all isolated. I do have to name the two pipe analyzers so I know which is the exterior and which is the interior. The other ones, I didn't really have to name. I'm naming them effectively what I name them in the script. Trying to keep things a little more. I couldn't think of a good name for the digital valve, pipe valve. I called it the pipe valve. I just couldn't. And then this way, if I see the transformer on the main network, I know what that transformer is for. Yeah, I didn't want to, it's not about just, I was going to call it CO2 cooling transformer, but it does, well, yeah, technically this is just cooling CO2. So CO2 would have been accurate. I called it the gas one because in general, it's designed to cool various gases. So, but specifically, it only cools CO2. So I guess if you want a very specific name, or in case a general name probably works better because you're viewing it from outside of the setup there. All right, so we just have to throw a chip in there. Oh, we got to put the stuff outside too. That would help. Now, I don't go overboard with the radiators outside. I could probably boost them the heck up. Initially, I have a big backlog of gas to filter. And then after that, you know, we'll see how it keeps up. Well, it's not a problem in this scenario. I have been like creative sessions, had a bunch of housings and start programming the wrong ones. So I named that specifically so I know that's the right housing. So there's a script. And I said it's pretty much almost identical to what I used before, the same threshold. I just add a little extra code to initialize the volume pump to 100 setting. I mean, turbo volume pump to 100 setting. And we'll just drop that in. Could use my labeler, but it's not that far to move it. Double checking. We still have to put the outside stuff in, so let's not turn it on quite yet. So this will give us, it moves a lot of that stuff from outside, and it stops me from running a manual radiator on that gas and keep checking it. Just look at my little pile of stuff to make sure I didn't have any duplicates I could reuse. I'm trying to gauge how much ore to put in so I can just let it run and do other things and not print too many. Now, I'm just using this the simple pipe radiators. I think they look better outside the and generally it takes 9 of those to equal one, the medium ones. And we make some more French fries here. Yeah, the French fries are one potato, but they do consume a bit of soy, so Yeah, it's too bad the heavy-duty suit increases the hygiene issue. Although, given how much time I spend indoors now, I probably get away with wearing a heavy suit without any hygiene issues, because I don't spend that much time outside, and I'll be spending a lot less once I get some of this stuff moved inside. Probably just smelting for now and mining, and of course any external base extensions. All right, so I have these directional. The one that sticks straight out is the one that we radiate. And the one that goes up, that's the one we're going to connect to our furnace. Or grab that old furnace gas. Now in this design, it's one issue is if I move a whole bunch of hot gas into the furnace, and then pump that gas out, and then my filtration device downstairs pulls it in, it could spike will spike the temperature within the CO2 tank, and that CO2 tank is what I'm injecting into the room when the CO2 level drops. And so you have a condition where you could inject extremely hot CO2 and spike the temperature before the system has a chance to lower it back down. So the code that'll run in the filtration unit, which will be in next episode, it actually does two things. It runs the filter and has certain protections built into for filtering. So if the output tanks, the output connections, the two output connections are under 30 megapascals, and the temperature of the output CO2 tank is under 50 Celsius, then run the filtering. And so what that does is that, let's say, and the system will cool it down from 50 down to approximately 25. So let's say the CO2 is down to, 25. We're running a steady state. We put a whole bunch of hot gas in there. Well, the filtration unit will run, and it'll start injecting more and more hot gas, and the gas in that tank will start moving up and moving up, moving up. Once it hits 50, goes over 50, then the filtration will turn off. But the cooling system is still cooling, so it'll cool it back down. So what you'll see, it goes down to like 49, and then we filter a little bit more, and it goes up to 51, and we cool it down a little bit. So it doesn't exceed 50, and 50 Celsius is not enough, because we won't inject that much CO2 at a time, given the volume of this room. 50 Celsius is not enough to really impact the temperature of this space, and it's really easy to cool down. So with that setting, and these are variables in the code that I can play around with, and that deals with the overheating. And so effectively the script that runs in the filter has two things it does. It handles filtration protection, and it handles injection by monitoring the CO2 levels in the room, in the space, and turning on the pump or not turning on the pump. So it's really two scripts in one. It makes the code a bit messy and a little complicated, but it was either that or have a separate IC chip running. So I decided just to make a little more complicated script there. Now, in the last episode, I did mention that I did an oopsie. And that oopsie was I pulled off that big tank off there that I used to buffer when I output gas. And I took all this, and this pipe goes nowhere. So basically I took a full tank of furnace gas and dumped it into this small little pipe. And that caused it not only to burst, but to waste a bit of gas. So we lost some gas. The lost gas is not that big of a deal, since we can just fire it up again. And so what I was thinking at the time is that the tank down in the basement would be the buffering. Except in this case, the pipe wasn't actually connected yet, so it didn't buffer anything. The other issue is that there may be times where I want to take the gas out of the furnace and I want to keep it around and reuse it. And because there's certain like super alloys where you kind of like play with the pressure and temperature, you move things back and forth, you put some gas in the tank, take it back out, you know, and you kind of want to adjust it. If I'm just having the filtration device running and sucking all that gas and processing it, that may not be what I want to do at that time. So you saw that I added a valve. So now if I want to keep that gas local in that extra tank out there, I can just turn off that valve and control the flow. And this allows me to use it. And then if I'm like, okay, I'm done with this gas, let's just dump it, then let's open it up. I've also considered, I'll probably put a pump on here. So if I want to get rid of that gas, I can just pump it all out and empty that tank out. And that can be useful too. So I think I need to add a pump, turbo pump up here. That probably won't be till episode 14 or more. All right, so I'm doing this hot style, which means I'm doing it in the sun. I'm going to fire up the furnace here because I really didn't wait tonight. And it's not like, you know, there's not like a billion volatiles and oxide on the moon. So I just, you know, leave it in my mining belt, hit, you know, R, and just split a whole bunch into my hand and just, you know, quickly dump it in there. I lose maybe one or two, you know, no big deal. All right, we're going to speed up this smelting process here. We're going to zip this up to 2.5. Now, this is, you know, it didn't take much. I forget what I threw in there, about 10 or 11 oxide, about 20 or so volatile, something like that. You know. And that makes it pretty darn hot. And with that, you can actually smelt quite a bit. You got to be careful of the pressure, though, because that's a lot of gas, and every time I smelt something, they off gas, and then it's all real hot. And so I'm keeping a look at that. So I'm basically looking at the gauge for two things. One, is it hot enough to smelt what I want to smelt? And to make sure the pressure is low enough not to explode. So if the pressure gets way too high, I have it set up already. I just turn the on button for a few seconds. It dumps some gas into the tank out over there. Now I have a tank there. And then just do that. And so that hot gas is now loading up into that tank, which means I can pull the hot gas back. So if I need to do something, I can actually just move the hot gas over. And one of the reasons why I'm building up a lot of gas is a number of the super alloys require very high pressures, you know, like one's up to 50 megapascals. And so I need to get a lot of excessive pressure in or gas in that tank there. So if I'm doing something and I go, man, I'm at 42 and I need some more gas without increasing temperature, then I'll just go ahead and just move gas back over and play with it that way. So we took all the old filters and tossed them in, and we're going to go ahead and smelt some nickel here while we're got a nice hot furnace. Yeah, too bad the cobalt doesn't turn into an ingot. It kind of just, I'm just pre-smelting this or pre-degassing this for later. I want to make a big, I think I don't do it till next episode, a big batch of stellite. And I make like a big batch of, like a 4x batch. Okay, so we're going to take all that nice hot gas. I guess I'm not deciding not to save it. And we're just going to dump it down the pipe, which should go downstairs, and we'll start sucking it in and cooling it. I believe what I want to do is get some CO2 in the tank downstairs and put some load on my cooling system, make sure it does what it needs to do. And I said, not like there's any shortage of volatiles and oxide to make more gas. All right. Yeah, I didn't get around to my lighting system down here. I had the lights down here, so it's something. Okay, so we have hot gas there, not too hot. And then we have, now, turn that on. Now, I don't have the smart chip in the CO2 filtration unit right now. So it will just filter. It will not stop or throttle. It will not check for excessive pressure. It just runs full bore. So, and the goal is just get a, get the initial gas in there. Things tend to work a little better. Doesn't, I don't really test for zero pressure type scenarios. It just, once you get it sort of going here. All right, so you see the temperature is dropping. And you'll notice to the right there, the digital valve is open. So it is exchanging the CO2 gas in that tank, connected to the outside. And we're gonna toss extra tanks over here, looking through. Because right now I plan to put additional gas processing down here. Basically that whole wall will have all the equipment. But we're just going to start off with the CO2 and nitrogen. That's what we mostly have in the this is a heat exchanger I'm going to put between the CO2 and nitrogen. Yeah, so I just put the small one in there. It's because in general, long term, what will happen is I'll use the advanced composter, and the gas, I think it's only like 50 centigrade, I believe. It's not that hot. So long term, it really doesn't have to really heat, cool a lot or cool it quickly. So having a simple radiator between the two, I think, is going to be more sufficient without, I kind of play around with location a little bit. Yeah, I don't like it up there. I put it way up there initially and go, it doesn't really. It doesn't do it for me. I'm still trying. Yeah, that's not going to work. Yep, I used a double click that time. So I'm working on my double click, so I'm getting better at doing it. Nope, right there. Yeah, it looks good. Nope. Nice and small, out of the way. And then we'll just grab some pipe. And this will be just put CO2 on one side and nitrogen on the other side. Yeah, that wire that goes between the filtration device and the tank, I'm going to remove that next episode. Move it over one. Yeah, I'm still trying to work out the patterns. A lot of this design is newish, and so I'm kind of playing around with different layouts and whatnot. All right, so let's see, everyone's happy. So it's coming down pretty quickly. Not that much gas in it yet. And we're getting some in here. Now, obviously, this is going to be hotter because there's a delay between, cooling from the CO2 over to the nitrogen. And we have a hot gas there, which does not get cooled, obviously. We bring it in. We only cool filtered gas. That way, like pollutants, we're not cooling that. We'll just dump that out. I'm just looking at. Yeah, the pressure of the outside line is a little less than the inside line. That's because the outside gas is a little colder, and it exchanges itself with the digital valve location because of different networks. And part of this design is attempting not to go too crazy with certain things. Like, for example, I'm not using active vents to move air through the pipes, and this entire space, both floors, is being cooled by 2 radiators on each side of the building. That's it, just 2. No other piping, you know. And I was cooling the whole thing with just 1 initially, you know. The gas does, and then when I start injecting the CO2, I inject it downstairs, and it will move around, you know, on its own. I only need one little passive vent to inject CO2 to, and the gas flows. I actually kind of like the little, you see the little animation effect as that CO2 sort of flows around the building. Okay, so we need a lot more hydroponic trays. So my original thinking was to add a lot more hydroponic trays, and the hydroponics was right behind me on this level. But then I decided it's just way too many plants, so I thinned it down a little bit. But then I will use those hydroponic trays for setting up the robot automation that will be downstairs. There we go, swapping out some batteries. Nice big pile. Fortunately, there's no storms on the moon, so we don't have to worry about everything flying away. Yeah, go ahead and cancel that. I need to grab so what I want to do is I want to take all that nitrogen I have up there, and I'm just going to connect it to the feed line, and I want to put a one-way valve on it so I don't back up the gas into the nitrogen tank. So basically the nitrogen only flows in one direction here. Now it's probably been different. I could probably take all the gas and run a long pipe and pump it from this hydrogen tank to the new nitrogen tank, and I decided to be lazy about it. I'll say, well, it's a little, you know, we have the new one-way valve with a lever. Yeah, somebody had a, you can pull that off now. So I'm going to leave this tank up there for a while so I have a way to fill my jetpack, and at some point I'll replace that mechanism. And when I do that, I can also drain that tank out, and then this little platform becomes pretty empty. And we're going to do some high-speed mining. And we're back. Morning on the moon. That battery's virtually charged up. Like it really matters to turn off the beacon. Let's go ahead and just check those batteries while we're here. Okay, we'll speed up the sorting operation. We're running at 2.5. These outside lockers for, I think the moon works out pretty well. I don't really have a great place to store ice, but I don't typically have that much on me at any one time, so. I'm going to grab this tank. I guess I'm not going to grab the tank. Oh yeah, so, alright, so I want to refactor my little hydroponic area. The problem is it's very, very dense, and it's just tired of, you know, trying to wander through the forest, trying to find the right tray to click on things and all that. So what I'm going to do is I figure I add another, to extend the base out a little further, and then I will move the hydroponics trays one by one over to this new section, sort of shuffle it down, and then sort of clean it up as I go. So I'll kind of like take the last row, move it here, and shuffle it across. And then of course I brought the wrong walls. I have, for windows I like walls, and for solid surfaces I like the flat walls. I grabbed the wrong one, so I can't put the windows up. And I want to continue it down to the basement area, so I need a few more frames for that. And of course we need some glass and plastic and all that for the windows. Alright, see what's going on down here. Steal some pipes. It's faster than elevators. And so we use the pipes to connect that nitrogen tank over, and then we got a one-way valve on it, so. And we'll just snake it down here. Once we empty this out, we'll just go ahead and remove all this stuff. Slight problem with this design. I need a second one-way valve, because what happened here is that I will flood the my reserve tank with nitrogen too. So yeah, I need one more valve. Now, if that valve's closed, then it's not a big deal, but yeah, it's mixing, and that valve's open, so all that gas is, yeah. All right, so I just need a one-way valve, but temporary issue. Once the filtration unit sucks all this gas down, then the problem goes away, right? Take a look at that. Oh yeah, we have these, I moved the system but never went out and removed the exterior components. Careful, careful, careful. Kind of neat having the original drop pod still there. And we'll just drop the frame here, clean it up. Actually, you've probably seen this before. We'll clean this, we'll speed this little section up. Put these frames in, and we'll use the mining tool to kind of clean it up a little bit. Fortunately, I had those flat walls, which I exchanged for normal walls, and didn't realize I needed those for the walls here. But it's not a big deal, because you can only punch in, fill in one room at a time. We do it from the inside. So we'll just go ahead and we'll drop the windows in here. Put them on the roof. Do the old double hand sequence. Yeah, I definitely like this better. I used to, almost all the other times I would do, you know, all plastic and then go back and do all glass. And it was always easy to forget a glass piece doing that. So this seems to be faster and more reliable. Okay, so now we punch holes here and looks like we didn't boo-boo. Take these out. Zip, 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 zip. Yeah, I should put wireless batteries in these tools too. There's always these little things that can be done. Alright, so we're going to leave the plants we have, and we're going to start a new. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have one row, and then I'm going to have 2 empty spots. And then I'll have 2 rows and 2 empty spots, and then one more row. So basically, between rows, you can basically reach a plant without leaning over another tray. So you have like an open area for the tray, each one. And thank you for that comment that you can push the button through the glass. Okay, it's a little cheesy. I don't like doing things through glass, but in this case, I'll bend on this particular scenario. And how's everyone happy? That's the icky tank. It's fine. It's coming down, and this tank's gonna be a little. Now this tank's hotter for 2 reasons. You know, one, it's indirectly cooling from the CO2 tank. The other reason is we just dumped a whole bunch of nitrogen into the system, so we have a whole bunch. We have a higher percentage of nitrogen effectively going through the system than we do carbon dioxide. You can see here, we have basically 50%. We double the amount of nitrogen, so it should be warmer for those 2 reasons. Let's check the filters. They're good. As I said, the AC system, the filtration system is still not smart. It just runs full bore no matter what. So we'll make it smarter in the next episode. The other thing I'm thinking about is some type of overpressure mechanism on those CO2 and nitrogen on the other tanks. Like what happens, something happens badly and that pressure goes up to like 50 megapascals. I need to dump that gas out. Probably set alarms too. But for now, we'll just have to keep checking things. But at some point, I do want to put, have it set up so you can kind of like do nothing. I mean, you still have to eat and whatnot, but not have to touch anything for quite some time. And in theory, you can have lots of CO2. Just thinking how playing on normal mode is a bit nicer than Stationeer, because you definitely go through a lot less, O2 and water and food and all that. Kind of focus a little more on gameplay. Okay, we're done with the frame segment of this. I grabbed those iron frames. I want to move those down in the lockers, my storage lockers, because I don't need to have them sitting in the locker up here. So we'll go down here. You all remember this area. Yeah. Not really utilizing it much, but I need to finish putting glass and whatnot in here. Once I get more caught, right now I'm kind of focused on automation. I have the building built out. I want to get all this stuff automated. I want to stop, like I said, having CO2 injected automatically, CO2, get a suit rack set up so I just drop it in and auto fills and dumps and all that magical stuff, and start generating automation for growing stuff. My little, and hold down the Alt key, instant drink. And we need more pipes for the and double click on the wrench. Okay, so now they'll have water for that row anyway. Kind of thinking out what I'm going to do here. I definitely want to save all the seeds and the plants there, so I don't want to waste anything. Okay, I'm definitely going to speed this section up really fast, because it's really boring. I mean, step one is, save the plant, save the seeds, save the plant. Don't waste anything. Don't do any clears, for example. And then once I do that, I'm going to store all the stuff there. And then I'll go ahead and I'll start shuffling the trays down. Now, when this is done, it'll look better probably in the next episode. I get part of it work done now, but I finish it up in the next episode. So once you see the layout, it all makes sense what I'm doing. So I don't need to sit there and, run this really slow at normal speed. So you kind of see how it changes. So, basically I'm just shuffling everything around. So this, the first row, well, this row closest to the windows will be wheat, and then the next row, long term, will be, a gap of 2, and then more wheat, and then on the other side of that, there will be soy, then a gap of 2, more soy. Other side of that will just be 1 row of potatoes, and trying to pull those off in the right order. And need some more radiators. So I'm going to put a sort of walkway down the center. Once again, I want to avoid, like this. So you have this gap, and this gap it'll be the walkway. I'll actually use radiators as sort of a walkway platform. Then I'll put floor pieces down over all that. Oops. Probably should put some railing on there at some point. Alright, so we'll just put 6 of these on. I have a little radiator walkway, functional walkway. Yep, we got water. And some floor grading. This upper level is basically just, for hydroponics. It's just enough plants to sort of, make food. I make tons of food with this. All the automated stuff will be downstairs. So this is sort of just the garden area, shall we say. Just waiting for the floor grading to complete. High-speed planting. That's our wheat. I decided to take those 2 pieces off the end, make it symmetrical. So, okay, we can make a boatload of flour here. Toss all that in there. I don't, yeah, the package machine doesn't have anything it requires flour, I'm pretty sure. Just the oven. I believe we can make cereal bars if we wanted to, and we can make should be able to make cereal bars and bread. Man, even at 5x, this takes a while. So I believe pretty much everything in here, we gave enough time. Everything had seeded, so we pull the seeds, pull the plants. And so we're doing fine there. So we're pulling these off because we got two rows between hydroponic collections. And we got wheat here, I mean, sorry, soy there. And take the extra soy, we'll just go ahead and make some oil out of that. So you see how it's starting to look now, right? So you got, I'm kind of looking around. So we got a little more roomy here, got a little walkway here. I got to take these middle ones out and put some more, do the same thing. I'll put some radiators down the center. Okay, let's get rid of some of these plants. Pop these center ones out. Make a big pile, make a big mess. We'll connect them. We need some radiators. Let's go print some of those up. Just need 6. They print pretty fast. And some more flooring pieces. We need 5 of those, as I recall. Okay, it's starting to look like something. We're not done yet. We got more to do, but it's starting to get there. Yeah, it turns out expanding the base by 1 was useful because I thought about just kind of shuffle within the existing space, but I think it would have ran out of space because in the way I'm doing it. We're tossing the extras downstairs because we want to use it for the robot farming down there. We'll do at some point. Actually, I start setting that up on the next episode. But then I gotta make some super alloys so I can make the robot arm. And some more gardening. I'm trying to do it from the far end over, and we don't want these either. So I'll pull these off, being careful. Take that group of 5 and toss it down there. I'm going to move those potatoes, but I'll wait till they seed before I yank them up. It's not like there's any big rush. And we're going to make a bunch of baked potatoes. Now, baked potatoes will get sucked into the packager because it can consume potatoes. So we'll run that for a while. We got a lot of extra potatoes we'll come up with since we're digging everything up. We'll make a ton of more canned French fries that we'll probably never eat. Carefully pull these units out so there's no plants in them. Yeah, so fortunately we can use all these extra hydroponic trays for the farming, so nothing goes to waste. And not that I need the cans, but just to do it. So that row right there I'm looking at, sort of, is going to be soy. Once those potatoes, turn to seed, then I'll yank them all up, put soy in there. So we have 2 rows of wheat, 2 rows of soy, and 1 row of potatoes, which will be more than sufficient for our requirements. Yep, just making a mess at this point. I guess I could print up some cardboard boxes and load the cardboard boxes up with cans and then store the cardboard boxes down in the locker room below this floor and have shelf after shelf of boxes of canned French fries. How's that for a little strength? And we got a big pile of ore out here too. Yeah, I think that's probably cold enough at this point. I mean, obviously it's definitely slowing down. Just checking out what's going on here. Let's get that tank off the roof there. Okay, so we're going to finish this part. We have the right pieces this time. Okay, we're enclosed in a small vacuum, trapped like a rat. All right, pop out these walls. Now, there's one small flaw with my plan here. As I put the cooling systems right against the corner there, so that it doesn't really look right since I pulled this wall out. My solution I'm thinking about doing is just put a frame back in the corner. So just have like a frame in the corner there, and the center 3 will be still open. I'll get rid of that extra oxide. But yes, we'll deal with this later. I really don't want to move it. It's just not worth the effort to move all that down. So I think we'll just stick a frame there, and that kind of fills in the spot, make it look like it belongs, and gives a little character. So it's not so boxy. Yep, might as well move these off the staircase for safety reasons. Trying to stack them up here so they're close but not in the way. And let's see what's going on here. Yep, definitely cooling down. And making its way down. Can't believe how much nitrogen I pick up just from the smelting. Oh. Few more. And we'll stick this empty tank somewhere. Need to get a recycler running and a centrifuge and just throw all this stuff in there. Or most of it anyway. Alright. We're going to end it. Hitting the magic button in the airlock. Turn that off. Oh yeah, we got lots of food. Checking my suit here. All right, I'm going to pop this door open and end the episode. Until next time, see ya.